Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my screencast about Class Dojo. Class Dojo is available at classdojo.com. It's incredibly free and amazing, and it is an app that I use for classroom management, for tracking participation, and also to engage parents. So Class Dojo I love so much because it is available conveniently in an app for smartphones that I can use when I'm walking around my classroom. So every feature I'm going to show you right now is going to be on the computer, on the website, but all of them are also available on your phone, so you can use it as you walk around. So right away when you look at the screen, you'll notice this is something that is intended for younger kids. The target demographic is K through 8. I use it for 10th graders, and they still love it because they like having a little monster guy. All right, so if you click on a student's little monster, you can see it gives you the option to give them some positive points for things that you like them to do, and it also gives you the option of giving some negative points if they're doing something you don't like them to do. You can also put a little post in there, add a photograph, or view their whole story to see what points you've already given them. This is an incredibly easy way to track certain behaviors, to give really quick feedback to parents or to students in general. You project it so that all of your students can see how many points they have. They can compare them to each other whenever they want to. So it's a really good tool for classroom management. So I'm going to show you really quickly how it looks when you log in. I'm not going to show you how to make an account. It's very user-friendly, very basic login. But when you log in, you'll notice there's a thing for PD resources if you want to teach other teachers how, or you want to see how you can use it better in your classroom. There's that option there. You can see that you can log in and add your school so that other teachers from your school can be connected to it. And there's a spot at the bottom to put in your classes. So I'm going to add a new class, and I'm going to say I'm going to make it a theater class. Let's say I make it a theater class. Theater. And I am going to make it for, let's say, some 10th graders. And I'm going to click Add Class. Now, once you are in here, you can add students by hand. So if I want to add Bruce Wayne, I can add Bruce Wayne. You can see as I'm typing them in, other students are showing up, so I could add them if they already have an account that way, and that way they sync up with all their other accounts they have for other teachers. And let me also add Diana Prince. So as you add them, they get their own little monster. If they already have an account, they'll have the same monster. You can also import a list into Word or from Excel if you'd like. Probably a little faster. But it is just as easy to type them in, especially if you have a new kid join the class mid-year, you can just type in one at a time. Alright, so once you're done adding your students' names, it comes up with a thing that gives you the option to invite students and parents. So when you click on Get Invites, it'll automatically give you invites for each student, individualized, to make a parent account. So there's directions for the parents, and there's directions for the students to make their own account. Which is, with the student account, there's some features that they can use, or that you can choose to use. The parents have access to all of their points that they get. The students have the option of changing their monster, and there's also a lot of more details that I'll talk about in a little bit. Another great feature is that you can also get that document in another language. So if the students speak another language at home, you can get the documents instead in some other languages. So the directions are exactly the same, but in whatever language the parents need. It's very convenient. Alright, so now you can see I've got my students in here, I've got my class, and I want to put in some skills. So I'm going to select to edit my class. So this is the thing I was talking about before with the student accounts. If you are a teacher who has one-to-one computers in your classroom, like they have their own iPads or something like that, they can make their own student account and make a digital portfolio so they can post pictures and stuff like that on their own little blog thing. But I don't have one-to-one computers in my class, so I don't use that. Mostly they just use their accounts to customize their monster. Now the skill part is basically how you are going to decide what you are going to track or not track. This could be something that you come up with the students. If as a class you decide you want one of your student rules to be that students are expected to arrive on time, you can make that something that students get +1 points for. If you decide as a class that something that needs work is that students are not allowed to eat in class, you can give negative points for eating in class. Gets a negative point. And you can edit the skills as you go through the year. One skill that I edited halfway through the year, for one of my classes, I had a lot of kids who asked to leave every single day to go to the bathroom. So rather than say students weren't allowed to use the bathroom or try to use some complicated ticket system, I made it a negative point. That way students were not interested in losing points to go to the bathroom if they didn't actually need to. They just stayed in class. You can also add positive points for things that promote growth mindset, like asking a good question or whatever other positive behaviors your school promotes. One thing I also like is that you can add skills that get 0 points. So sometimes I worry that I'm not calling on all of my students at the same number of times, and students complain like they don't have a lot of points because I don't call on them as much. So I added a thing that says that they were called on, but they didn't answer, which then eliminates the requirement that I give them a negative point or a positive point if they don't answer, but lets me know and lets them know that I called on them. So when I look at their scores later, I can see that I called on them. They just didn't answer a question. And you can import skills from another class if you've already made a class and you like all the skills in there. Or you could just come up with all the ones you want on your own. You can come up with them with the class. It's up to you. So when you click on a student's name, like say I click on Clark Kent, if I give him a positive point, it gives a positive sound response. If I give him a negative point, it gives a negative sound. You can turn the positive and negative sounds off if you want in your settings, but generally the students respond well to them. There's also options for things like a randomizer. I'll pick a random student to answer a question, and the thing will pop up for me to give them a point. You can set a timer that is a small timer, or if you go into your toolkit, you can set a timer that is a bigger timer that takes up the whole screen. But it doesn't like it right now because I'm also doing my screencast, so it gets grumpy. Let me see if I can get it to work again. There we go. So it'll be a very large screen that shows how much time there is left, and you can add time or pause the timer if you need to. In your toolkit, there's also a lot of options to post directions. So if you want to put like the directions that your students need to follow, you can display them, and that'll take up the whole screen as well. Or you can pose various questions for them to discuss as a class, and it'll take up the whole screen. You can choose your own questions in there as well. Or you can put little like daily messages, like if you want to put a do now and display that on your screen. Or your randomizer can come up and it'll look a little cooler that way, and you can hit pick again. Basically, there's just a lot of really cool features you can include and show your class. I need my microphone on to do that. But it'll do a little noisemaker bar to keep your kids on task with their noise. And you can assign them to groups as well, and it'll automatically assign the kids to groups. The cool thing about that feature that I noticed is that when you assign them to groups, you can set kids who you don't want to ever group together. And you can do that ahead of time so that they don't know you're purposely not grouping them together. So basically there's just a lot of really interesting and cool features that you can use with this program that work really well for classroom management and for instant feedback and easy ways to then track students and give participation grades. So I really like using it, and I hope you might want to try using it in your classroom too. So if you do, let me know. I would love to hear how it goes. Have a great day.